people were asking for a lot more stuff. That's when I started actually bringing on more people. So I brought on Ivan, I reached out to Magda to help with content, a bunch of other people I reached out to. Build. Kind of continued to get more and more traction. It was surprising what we were going out of. I'll go through a little bit later kind of the evolution of the team, but the interesting part was that then at around 11 o'clock that night, we were doing a lot of this over Skype, and so someone was like, why is the site so slow? I'm like, I don't know. And somebody said, oh, we just got featured on Channel 9. So all of a sudden we were like, wow. Server crashed, and we were, I think, down for about 90 seconds before we were brought back up. So at that point, then we said, okay, we're going to be featured on CNN in 2 hours. And I was kind of like, oh, okay. What do we do now? So great job, a lot of traction. At that point, we had, I didn't know it at the time, but we had kind of already reached over 1 million visits at that point. So how are we going to cope? The server was sitting on a cPanel managed server. The server was also running a lot of other clients from IT Integrity and on the net. We had shut down the server and rebooted it to max out the resources. This was before we had actually been hit by the Channel 9 stuff, because we knew that we were starting to get a lot of traffic, and so we were quote-unquote prepared for this. But obviously that for a single server really wasn't gonna do it. And so the server admin had been going for a while anyways, and he's like, all right, well, here's root access, don't break anything, good luck. So
this is on the same server, is it?
This is all on the same server.
Dedicated hardware or a VPN? Dedicated hardware or VPN?
This is dedicated hardware, as far as I know, yeah. So lots of, actually I take that back. I think it was actually virtual hardware at some level, because we were able to get, we were able to boost the RAM on it, just with a restart, I think. But it wasn't really a true VPS solution or whatever. Like it wasn't a, what's the word? It wasn't across multiple machines. It was just, I think, a virtual machine inside a single box.
And Ryan, was that crashing because you had people logging in? It wasn't just anonymous stuff being served from the cache. You actually had a lot of people.
It was a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I mean, we had at this point we had a lot of people. Like we had a ton of traffic actually coming in anonymously. We also had a fair amount of people actually logging in. By that point, one of the things that we had actually started doing was collecting registrations for people who wanted to volunteer their beds. Yeah. And I think around that time, either I actually take it back. It might have been the next day when we actually iterated again on the beds idea and actually hid certain information to require people to log in to actually access the bed information. But yeah, which was important actually because of privacy concerns and you know. So yeah, 11 o'clock. Lots of urgent calls to various high-level people. Reached out to Acquia, a bunch of other people, and the basic summary was that we'd love to help, but we really can't do anything in less than 2 hours. So at that point, I was just flailing around with whatever I could. Again, this was Drupal 7. It had been released for about all of a week. So Varnish to the rescue. At the time, like I said, there was no press flow for Drupal 7.
But does Drupal 7 work well with like Varnish out of the box?
It does, and that was the thing. But none of this had been tested, and we obviously didn't have time to test any of this stuff.
So what's PressFlow?
PressFlow is a high performance. I wouldn't really say a fork, but it's got patches in various places that target high performance websites. So in Drupal 6, it was things like working with Varnish, dealing with multiple databases, that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff had been incorporated in Drupal 7, but we weren't really sure how much of it, and we didn't really have time to test. As I noted here, yeah, we were doing this all on a single site with live. We didn't really have a dev site at that point. No testing time, etc. So 3, 2, 1, here it comes. We had almost 1.5 million hits, and we had 0 downtime during the CNN feature. Over the next like 40 hours or so, we were actually featured on CNN like, I don't know, 8 or 10 times. and that actually survived not only the initial load, but we realized that if we were going to continue to grow like this, we really couldn't keep it up with a single server. So what now? Rohan and the guys over at on the net basically scrambled together. They had been working on a kind of development version of some more sophisticated virtual machines and stuff. So we put together a single load balancer, 5 web servers running Apache and APC, and 1 database server. I actually dropped Varnish out of that equation because of the fact that, again, I really wasn't sure exactly how we were going to, without testing and stuff, I didn't want to necessarily be serving bad content. And the fact that we were running Apache and APC across 5 web servers, I was pretty confident that the anonymous traffic wasn't going to be that big of a problem.
But if you were to put Varnish, would you put it before or after the load balancer?
Well, see, that was the thing, and I didn't really have the time to test that. I probably ideally would have put Varnish in front.
Yeah. Because if you put it behind, you might get a load balancer push this request that way, that request that way, and you get the data will just be.
And the biggest thing is, based off of the statistic that we saw, one of the biggest problems we saw was not the actual database load. It was more just the pure connection traffic, and it was just the raw number of hits coming in across the network and network requests. So at one point we had also looked at offloading a lot of stuff to a CDN, but again they couldn't kind of get things up and running for a CDN quick enough. So yeah.
Were these actual servers, was it running on bare metal or virtualized?
So that was the important part. So this was across, I think, several different servers, but this configuration was virtualized.
Oh, okay.
It was on multiple bare metal machines, but it was a virtualized environment. So that all happened Wednesday morning, and we got it switched over Wednesday afternoon. At that point, then we actually